then how can you find out what a religious life is when you are blind? So you want to find out what a religious life is, and yet won't leave your little enclosure. Right? You are tied to your tradition, and you want to inquire into something that demands a mind that is capable, a heart that can really love. That, without freeing yourself from your tradition, your culture, your belief, how can you find out anything? You can repeat what the Gita said, or the Upanishads, or some other book. What value has it? I was told the other day, some of the gurus now give lectures or talks on Gita. Is that right? Yes. And there are hundreds and thousands go and listen to it. What value has it? What are we all playing at, sirs? Apparently, one doesn't see one's own tragedy. Right, sir? Psychologically, why should I accept what somebody else says? When I realize that I am the rest of mankind, mankind is me. The me is the history of mankind, the book of mankind. If I know how to read it, I don't depend on anybody. So, can I, without distortion, without prejudice, without choice, be aware of the content of this book, which is me? To read it very carefully, never distorting it, requires a great deal of attention, great deal of energy, intensity, immediacy. And we are not willing to do all that because we think that's too tiresome. Tell me quickly what to do and I will do it, or I may not do it. Generally, I may not do it. And I personally think that this psychological guidance by another, whether it is the religious guidance or the the guidance of the psychologists, is totally wrong as far as because then you're making humanity into children who have to be guided, told, encouraged. We are grown-up human beings after 5 or 10 million years. Through negation of what is not, the positive exists. That is, love is not desire. Love is not pleasure. Love is not a remembrance. It is as strong as death, as vital as life. And you see, love can only exist when there is no suffering. Suffering is personal. Suffering is also global. Man has suffered endlessly. And he tries to combine that suffering with what he calls love. And so there's always this contradiction, this duality. Whereas if you deny all that is that which is not love, then the other thing has its immense beauty, great strength and vitality of its own.
And why do we have to learn mathematics, or why do we have to learn science?
Because part of mathematics is order. 2 plus 2 plus 2 makes 6. That's order, right? In sequence it must be. So mathematics, much more complicated and all that, is a series of sequences and order. Right?
Anybody know what's wrong with this tin?
I do. It doesn't finish.
It doesn't finish. Does everybody see where it doesn't finish?
Yeah.
Where? Okay. Josh? Can you come up here and put in a tin at this space here?
Civil War. Remember we saw that thing, the blue and the gray?
Right.
The people, they were real ready to fight. They thought it'd be real neat. Go get those Yankees, go get those, whatever they called them.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of people would be, some people, depending on the type of person you were, really be scared of war. They think it'd be neat because they don't like this person. And I remember we started, like a lot of people realized they thought it'd be real fun.
Are we
That'll be real romantic.
aware of our responsibility to another? If one has a family, wife, children, are you responsible for those children? That you care, that you have love for them? Are you concerned that they become healthy, good citizens? If you have children, do you feel responsible for those children? To see that they have right education so that they won't be killed in a war. They won't become mediocre. Or you have no time at all for them. Because you have to go out and earn money as the man and the mother and the father, as they do now, and have very little time for the children. That's a fact. So where is your responsibility? You're not interested in all this. So one asks, what are you interested in? I think that's a legitimate question. You can talk about love, freedom, and the beauty of the sky, but there's only outside interest. But basically, what are we interested in? That's right. You are interested in yourself, right? Which are perfectly right. Each one is interested in himself. On that, our society, culture, religion is based, right? Each one interested in himself, his progress, his expression, in all the rest of it. Do you, as a human being, realize that we are all one, basically? Not as an idea, but as a fact. Because when you go to India, you see the misery, the confusion, the anxiety, the despair of people running to their pretty little gods whom they have created. You come to Europe, it's exactly the same thing. They have got their Jesus, their Christ, their run, you follow? You come here, it's exactly the same. Yeah, you understand, sir? First, to realize, not verbally, but in your heart, in your blood, in your whole thinking, that human beings right through the world go through the same agonies that one goes through. The loneliness, the despair, the depressions, the extraordinary uncertainty, insecurity, whether they live 10,000 miles away or all psychologically bound together. If one realizes that profoundly in your guts, in your blood, in your heart, in your mind, then you are responsible. You've heard all this, you as a human being. Why don't you change? What prevents you? If each one of us asks that question, not verbally or merely intellectually as an entertainment, but ask that question most seriously and deeply, what's your answer? What's your answer to this problem that human beings have lived this way for millennia upon millennia? Why haven't they changed? Why haven't you, who are listening now, why haven't you changed? You know, if you don't change, what's the consequences are? You'll be nationalistic, you'll be tribal, insular, isolated, and therefore having no relationship globally, fighting, building up more and more armaments, destroy each other. Now, why don't you, if you're at all serious in this matter, why don't you ask yourself that question? Why am I, a human being who have been through all this, why haven't I changed? What would be your answer? After all, life is one global unitary movement. So in the same way, our consciousness is common to all mankind. Now, if I radically change, surely it affects the rest of the consciousness of man. Now, why don't you change?